Growing up, I just knew I was going to come to Guelph. My dad came here. My mom was the secretary to the Department of English. There's actually a picture of her standing behind the circulation desk and him studying at the horseshoe tables, and they didn't know each other.
First year, I was living in Lambton, which at the time was very much a first-year residence. We were all in the same boat, not really knowing many people.
I really wanted to take home economics and be a teacher. I think that it was one of the best programs that anybody could take. It was really a practical education, and being part of a large community I think was really great. You really knew everybody, and you worked with everybody in whatever you were doing.
It was a pretty big place for a little country boy from Harley, Ontario to come to a city, even the size of Guelph at that time. I had decided in grade 7 that I wanted to be a veterinarian. It was so exciting to get here and to find there was all these people. There were 65 other people who wanted to be veterinarians.
I grew up in Guelph, and I really felt that I needed to move away to go to school, probably like a lot of students. I really was drawn to Guelph because it had this great university center, and I felt like it was a really walkable campus, so I stayed home.
Being the first class of Wellington, we really didn't have a home anywhere. So our classes were in many different buildings. It was quite a map. You had to figure out, where all your classes were.
Creelman Hall was the big spot. I mean, as a male who eats a lot, it was very difficult to make your cards last the full semester.
We had names for everything, and one of them was elephant scabs, which is veal cutlets.
We had mystery meat back then too, and we had spaghetti food fights.
They had a big milk cooler where you could go over and all the milk you wanted. It was not in cartons, you had a glass, and you just lifted this lever up and milk came out. And they took the milk bags out and quickly put in some beer.
And when it was all done, there was broken glass everywhere because there was just a mad riot to get some beer from the cooler.
I stayed in Mountain, and it was interesting because my year was a year that, for some reason, Mountain South was all girls. I didn't actually sign up to be in an all-girls residence, so that was a surprise, I think, for all of us.
So they put everybody in residence rooms, 4 to a room. So there were no single beds here, there were double bunks, four people to a room. And it was, let's say, the center of high energy.
At the time, the residence was basically, I think it was 10 or 12 rooms male, 10 or 12 rooms female. And we got into a battle with the ladies one day, and we decided to take it out on them by dismantling all the partitions in their washroom that night and putting them to the side. So when they came in the morning to go to the washroom, there were just exposed toilets and nothing else. At which point they took over our washroom until we put it back together again.
Painting the cannon was one of the big things that everybody liked to do. And then you would just sign your year on it. So about 5 or 6 of us got together and planned this all out. And it was planned with the ultimate detail. It could have been Ocean's 11, the way the planning was. We went out and we watched the security police drive around twice so that we would know how much time we had to pull this off. And we had somebody was a lookout, somebody was a timer, and somebody was a painter, or several were painters.
The women were all locked up. After 7 o'clock, if they wanted to go to the library, they had to sign out. And through the semester, they could only get, I think it's 3 keys that would let them come back in after the doors were locked at 11 o'clock.
Miss Kidd, you've probably heard about Miss Kidd. She was very strict, no boys upstairs. On our first date, Barry came and he had to, sign in with Miss Kidd, and she called up and I came down, and it all very proper.
So there were lots of times when we were boosting Mac girls in through the windows in the Mac Hall annex at the back, because they couldn't get in otherwise.
Looking back, it was interesting how the school was developing, because as I said earlier, we were such a small school at the time. They really had to try to blend us with other parts of the school, which was fun because you got to meet lots of other people.
Just about everybody back then who came was from rural Ontario. And this was the very first time they were away from home. And there was a lot of homesickness and a lot of people who, you know, I think benefited from all the camaraderie that we had and the fun that we had.
Now looking back, the exposure that I had and being able to draw on both my academic experiences and just life at Guelph really has made me happy that I made that choice.
When you think back there, I think you remember just a great bunch of friends that you were sharing a big segment of your life with. And it was really good to be meeting people from across Canada, and they were just good times.
University of Guelph has been my stepping stone in life. It helped me grow as a person, and University of Guelph has played a big part in our lives.